social entrepreneurship, and he will share a bit more about himself later on when we get to him. We also have the executive director for Environment 360, Cordy Aziz. And as you may or may not know, Environment 360 is an NGO that specializes in creating community education campaigns. And especially today, with this webinar, they are focused on improving the lives of the informal sector plastic waste collectors, especially women within that sector. And finally, we have somebody who I also greatly admire. We have Bernice Dapper, who is, the founder of Ghana Bamboo Bikes, from coming to us live from Kumasi today. So these are our three speakers, and we are going to get straight into today's topic. And once we have finished asking them the questions, everybody who is online with us today, do feel free to ask them anything related to the topic. I guess nothing within reason is off the card. So we are going to start with yourself, Gregory. So my first question for you is, how would you define circular economy? And with your exposure so far, where do you think Ghana stands as a country in achieving a sufficient circular economy?
Well, look, I think to me, a circular economy is an economy that captures waste and treats waste as an opportunity rather than a form of pollution. So in Australia, for example, and I can get into this in more detail later on, but we have a national plastic strategy. And the goal of that strategy is to create a circular economy to capture plastic pollution. And instead of it going into landfill or littering the streets, the plastic pollution is captured and treated like a resource, like iron ore or like gold or like cocoa. It's something that can be used to build and create other things. And so I think that's what a circular economy is. A circular economy is an economy that doesn't waste and that treats pollution as an opportunity. And eventually, in addition to plastics, it's what we need to do, for example, with climate change, and which is why Australia, we also support, for example, the principles of like carbon capture and storage, which is stopping carbon dioxide, an invisible gas, going into the air and creating pollution there as well. I think I haven't been here long enough to really be the most eligible or experienced person to critique Ghana's journey and position. And so I might, if you don't mind, I might leave that to Cordy and Bernice.
That's absolutely fine, Gregory. So Bernice, not Bernice, Cordy, I apologize. Please do take it away. Please do give us a bit more information. But just to follow off what Gregory said, he said something that was interesting about waste being an opportunity. So whilst you do elaborate, do also tell us about, what the Circular Innovation Hub is going to be all about, as well as the inspiration behind it and what the vision is.
So thank you so much. It's so interesting how His Excellency brought up the Australian National Plastic Action Strategy that they have. Ghana has also been working with the Global Plastic Action Partnership as one of the first West African country to actually join this global movement against combating plastic. And it's really interesting because when you look at where government of Ghana is headed, it's strictly a circular economy. Their plan for waste is that 100%, if it's not a circular solution, they don't want to consider it. So I think that there has definitely been a shift in the past few years of really understanding and appreciating how when you reuse waste time and time again, you not only, of course, have a great benefit for the environment and the planet, but it also benefits people. It creates job, it creates opportunity, it makes for a healthier environment, which reduces health costs on a country. So I think Ghana is definitely headed towards a circular economy. And this is one of the reasons why we created the Circular Innovation Hub in Dodowa, because what we realize is that although we have a lot of activities that are focused in on collection, we actually don't have a lot of hubs or we don't have a place, a safe space for eco-entrepreneurs, people that have created other sustainable alternatives for packaging and things. We don't have a space for them to actually come, test out their idea, be partnered with stakeholders on the local market, and then take that idea from just an idea into actual production. And I think that when we look at Ghana and the sustainable alternatives, I don't think that there's a shortage. Particularly those students that are coming from some of these universities, like University of Energy and National or Natural Resources, and KNUST, Cape Coast, and even University of Legon. I think you see an uptick of people that really are finding ways to be circular here within Ghana. And I think that it needs a safe space where it can grow, and we can invest in some of those ideas as well.
Cody, thank you so much for that. And I really appreciate what you said about, creating job opportunities and essentially feeding everything back into the cycle, which I think somebody like Bernice has been doing with her bike company. So Bernice, tell us, we can see you have applied a great deal of innovation, to make these bicycles indigenous. And I just want to know, what was the inspiration behind the company and how has the journey been so far?
Thank you very much for having me or hosting me this afternoon. I think with my early interest of the properties of bamboo and also my interest of trying to see how best I can use a local raw material to go into a very productive venture, due to some circumstances to beyond my control or above it, we decided to see how best we can tap into the abundant bamboo resources found around us to create employment out of it. So out of passion, that is how I developed the Ghana Bamboo Bikes initiative.
Fantastic, thank you. We're all very grateful for your passion in creating this company. So Gregory, I'm coming back to you now. So I'm sure our listeners would like to know, what are some of the international best practices when successfully incorporated into business activities, and what would draw us closer to achieving an efficient circular economy? So what do we really need to pay attention to, especially in Ghana, to ensure that we can sustain a circular economy?
So look, maybe I can share Australia's strategy, which really has three key components. So we have a national plastics strategy, and the goal of that strategy is to create economic growth and a cleaner environment through a circular economy. And I think that's really important, that it's not just seen as a task or a burden, conservation. It's seen as an opportunity and to create a new business that will employ people and create wealth and jobs. So our national plastics strategy has three components. And the first component is, like many developed countries, we were exporting our waste. So we were avoiding dealing with our own waste by everybody was conscientiously recycling with their recycling bins at home and at work, but the recycling was actually being exported. And so last year, our Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, got together with the state ministers and we established our national plastics strategy. And the first part of that strategy was to ban the export of waste. So we're taking responsibility for the waste ourselves. We're not exporting the problem to another part of the world, which I know Ghana, for example, has received a lot of waste from Europe, the Agbogbloshie community, for example. There's a huge amount of waste there, e-waste. So yeah, part one of our strategy, and all good practice, I think, is to ban the export of waste so that it creates demand and creates accountability and responsibility for dealing with it. The second part of our government strategy was a commitment that we have as public servants, wherever we work in the government, to, excuse me, to consider wherever possible in our purchasing arrangements, purchasing recycled and reusable materials. So, for example, as the High Commissioner here if I'm going to approve the purchase of new furniture or something, anything in the High Commission, I have to make sure and do my best to make sure that we purchase recycled and reusable products. And even if those products are a little bit more expensive than the disposable products, then I can actually justify that. And the government and the laws of Australia encourage me and authorise me to purchase, as a government official, recycled products. And then the third part of our strategy, which I think is really the most powerful part, is a target by 2025, which is only 4 years away. All reusable products and all single-use products in Australia need to be made from recycled products and need to be recyclable. So basically, every plastic bag, every cup, every item that we use that's currently contributing to waste as a single-use item has to be recyclable and has to be made from recycled materials. So that is what's really creating, that policy creates a circular economy. It's circular because it can't leak out through exporting, and it's circular because we make it mandatory to recycle and reuse and use recycled and reusable products. And so what that does is it puts a price on plastic. It makes plastic a valuable commodity. So used plastic is actually becoming something in Australia that has value. And then when it's combined with another element that I think is really important, which is investment in infrastructure in waste management. So something that we already had in place in Australia was a good waste management and collection system. But as I said before, we were exporting the waste. But you do need to have like a systematic system for collecting and sorting the waste, because if you just rely on individuals, it's much harder. So our national plastic strategy with those three elements, combined with a good system right across Australia for waste collection and waste management, regular waste collection, regular waste management, accessibility of something as simple as garbage bins, so that, and having separable waste, so that in all the cities and towns across Australia, if you have something that you need to dispose of, you will see there'll be different bins to put it in, depending on whether it's glass or paper or non-recyclable or compostable material. So I think, like, if you had to sum it up, the three things you really need in terms of best practice is a good waste management system with the infrastructure in place, basic things like bins, regular waste collection, and waste management facilities. And there's a role there for government to play, just like governments have a role to provide road infrastructure and rail infrastructure and airports and hospital infrastructure. There's a role for the government there. And then the second bit is to have that strategy, those policies to create the circular economy.
Fantastic, Gregory. So just to follow on from this, Gregory, and Cordy, I'm sure afterwards you can chime in as well. You spoke about how Australia had only really started implementing these policies last year. And, you know, when I look at a country like Australia, you do have regular waste collection, you do have recycling, something that in as much as we do have it in Ghana, it's not as, you could say, as structured. So I'm curious to better understand, you know, how did this partnership between yourselves and the Innovation Hub Environment 360 come about, and what is the benefit, and how will the collaboration work between the two parties? So whether Gregory or Cordy, whoever wants to take that.
Maybe if I could just come in briefly first and let Cordy get into the greater detail. So Environment 360 is an organisation that the High Commission has worked with in the past, and a credible organisation. And here in Ghana, we're on the other side of the world from our immediate neighbourhood, which is the Asia Pacific, which we're usually the most significant or the biggest investor of development assistance or foreign aid. But here, our aid program isn't as big as many of the other players, like the European Union or the US, for example. But an important principle for our aid program is gender equality. And another important principle is empowering people and sustainability. And so the thing that I really liked about this project that we're working on with Environment 360, it combines both of those things. It works with the ladies who are referred to in Ghana as waste pickers, which I don't really like that term. I'd love to kind of explore other names because their role is so much more important than picking waste. But it works with them. And like from my understanding, instead of them working really hard all day, and if they're lucky, being able to earn 30 or 50 pesewa per kilo for collected bottles, they can actually recycle and recreate new higher value added products from those bottles. So I like it because it's contributing to the circular economy. It's contributing to innovation. It's turning the plastic pollution problem into an opportunity. And then I also really like it because it's working with women and it's empowering women who are supporting their families, their children, and who are often widows or have been forced to leave their husband and are working really hard. So I like the gender equality and gender empowerment element of it as well.
Okay, fantastic.
So yeah, and I can pick up from there. You know, Environment 360 has been working with waste pickers, about 90% women, for the past 3 years. And one of the key things we realize is that though these ladies are working really hard, they're really not moving up the economic scale. And a large part of this is just because we don't have some of the government policies that really regulate plastics. We still export a lot of it, so the price is very volatile. It's linked to global prices. And another issue is just that when you look at what you can actually pay them versus what recyclers pay, is just really not enough. The Circular Innovation Hub was actually sort of a dream. And then I think the Australian High Commissioner came along right at the right time. We had purchased a piece of land a while ago. 3M had given us a grant to clear off the land and build a wall. And the idea was to be able to put something there that was going to be really innovative. If you're familiar with Environment 360, we do like to think of ourselves as innovators. So we don't like to consistently do the same thing. We want to make sure that we're contributing to the plastics talk in a very actionable way, and something that really illustrates what is possible if people just take a little bit of risk. So we were able to isolate a partner in Europe that essentially had a modular recycling technology. And they actually have been around for a few years in about 25 different countries. And we thought, wouldn't it be great if we could bring this modular recycling technology into Ghana and pilot and see basically if we're able to get the women to segregate their lids from the PET, will we be able to essentially raise their incomes? One thing about, I think, His Excellency is that the High Commissioner is that he actually came to Medina and did a walk around with the ladies. And it was so great because, as he mentioned, they make between 30 and 50 pesewas per kilogram. And one of the major challenges is that they have to do a lot of work for that. So the idea with the Circular Innovation Hub in this first phase is we'll actually be using the lid of the PET bottle to create non-food grade products. One of the things we realize is that, hey, if we get this technology and we ask these women to go out and find an end product or an end market, it's probably going to be difficult, as many of them probably won't have the confidence. They probably don't know how to find a market value chain. They don't really know about feeding into a supply chain. So then I've known Bernice for a while, and Bernice and I are both what we like to call crazy entrepreneurs. So I roped in Bernice and I said, hey, Bernice, I know that you're really into women's empowerment. I know that your company believes in sustainability and creating local jobs. Could we perhaps partner together so that we can start prototyping products for Bamboo Bikes? And graciously, she agreed. So Bamboo Bikes is our first local partner, and we'll be prototyping their handlebars. So the first 10 waste pickers that we've chosen for this particular class, they'll actually be designing handlebars for Bamboo Bikes. And hopefully we'll be able to get to a final product stage, and then it'll feed directly into Bernice's value chain. Bamboo Bikes was an ideal partner for us because they actually have several different components on the bike, which can be made from recycled plastic. Mm-hmm. But I think the High Commissioner hit a few things on the head. We really have to look at how we can strengthen local value chains and feed some of this recycled plastic back into the market. And I think that that comes through connections between local organizations like Environment 360 and Bamboo Bikes. So we're really grateful that Bamboo Bikes has chosen to be one of our first partners. And we're hoping to be able to recruit more companies like them that also have plastic in their value chain and say, hey, you know what? I also want to explore how we can become more sustainable, how we can incorporate plastic recycled products into our value chain, and also impacting the income of these women waste pickers at the same time.
Okay, Cody, fantastic. I do have a follow-up, but I want to hear from Benice, just because you've mentioned that, you know, she is one of your first partner. So Benice, firstly, how does that make you feel? And what was the motivation behind the partnership? How do you see it being mutually beneficial, not only to the Innovation Hub, but also to yourself as a businesswoman? Hello?
I was very motivated when Cody sent me an email about what exactly Environment 360 want to do with us. First, I love the idea of they using plastic waste to turn into such innovative venture through their circular innovation, which is basically what Bamboo Bike is doing. We care about the environment. We're using bamboo to manufacture bicycles. And we also use similar product like the handles and other stuff we do import them. So when I got email from Cody, I was very excited because we are all promoting the local economy, how we can progress, reduce more of importation and tap into local materials. So Environment 360 trying to come out with such a beautiful initiative whereby using plastic to help us manufacture some of our products, which was very, very, amazing. And I really, got into the idea of they also trying to employ a lot of women in their industry to see how best it can create more employment for them. So basically, I like the idea of they using plastic materials to turn into such, innovative venture.
Okay, Benice, thank you. So Cody, I want to come back to you. You did mention getting this technology from abroad and essentially technology being a driver. So I want to pose this question to you. We know that we're using these women waste pickers who might not be the most astute in understanding the technology that is going into these processes. So bearing that in mind, how do you envision the next 5 years going? How do you envision actually training these women, you know, to better execute on these projects? And in that same regard, the same way you're working with Benice, are there opportunities and are you open to work with other partners to achieve your goals down the line?
So I think that that's a really great question. When we actually first started this project, we knew that it was definitely going to be a challenge to get our ladies to adapt technology. And this is just because researchers have shown that waste pickers, or informal sector plastic collectors, as we like to call them, are slow in adapting technology. So what we have is, for this particular round, we actually have a 5-week course. And during that 5-week course, we basically are covering everything from competence, helping them understand how to overcome challenges, helping them create mitigation plans for issues that they might find when they're in the market. Once we're able to do that, then we're actually linking them with business coaches. And those business coaches will actually really support in developing and designing their product. At the end, what will happen is that we will have this product printed. We're actually using a 3D printer to sort of print out the prototypes. Those 3D prototypes will actually be displayed at graduation, which we're hoping to have at the High Commissioner's house, which will probably be maybe mid to early June. From there, the next thing is the women need to prove that they're able to actually collect the amount of plastic needed to create a product. So from there, we're actually going to be creating some interim products for quick sale, mainly beads. So we'll be making beads that the women can make into jewelry, sell to sandal makers and other things. Once they've established that they can actually collect enough plastic to be able to maintain their own creation stream, then the next idea is to be able to take them through a year-long training where they really learn about the technology. It should be noted that one thing we've learned about waste pickers is that not everybody wants to move up the chain. Some people are exactly happy where they are. So the opportunity is for those women who are committed, who want to become small scale recyclers. Those women that want to become small scale recyclers will attend a year more training. At the end of that training, we're hoping to identify an impact investor within the next year that can actually then pre-finance machines for women. Hopefully by then we'll have the handlebars in place and we'll have a few other partners. Then we'll be able to subcontract out the work that we have from the partners to those women that own machines. Now, what happens is that once we subcontract out to them, we can basically immediately take their loan payment from their guaranteed contract. This way we can create a revolving fund that allows us to continue to pre-finance other machines. Ideally, once we can prove that there's need, our European partner has actually committed to coming here and setting up and producing the machines locally, which would then be able to drive the cost down exponentially and make it a lot more accessible. So this is how we envision sort of getting the women from point A to point B. Hopefully within the next 5 years, we do have more than one partner. Once again, Bamboo Bikes was ideal, but we're also talking with cosmetic companies. We're talking with fashion designers. We're talking with people that make eco toilets. We're talking actually even with the church that has a variety of schools. So I think that we are open to all types of partnerships. An important thing for us is that people that come on board, they're committed to the process. So we're really looking for partners that are willing to learn lessons with us and are willing to go the long run. The reason we're creating an interim product for the ladies to be able to sell and increase their income is because we understand we have to prototype and test in the field. That's not going to be an overnight process. So yes, we're starting with Bamboo Bikes today, but it might be a year from now until we feed into that value chain. So what we're going to really be focused in on is how can we grow with our partners? How can we make sure that we ensure the quality of the products that are coming out of the Innovation Hub? And then once again, how can we ensure that when the women that want to move into small scale recyclers, when they're ready for that opportunity, we will equip them with the technical skills, capacity, and service skills that they need to be able to do that.
Okay, Cordy, thank you so much. So you said something interesting. It could take even up to a year before you impact the value chain of Bamboo Bikes. So Bernice, with that in mind, thinking more long term, how do you see, incorporating these products from recycled plastic impacting your personal value chain and, bringing in larger value propositions for your company and your clients?
First, I think I strongly believe with such collaboration is really going to help us to bring a strong momentum for environmentally friendly products because bamboo bike is so advancing, and we're looking at how we can make at least 90% of our production locally made, environmentally friendly products. So I think with this, collaboration, I believe we can build a very strong momentum toward sustainable, products.
Denise, thank you so much. So I'm looking at this, Circular Economy Innovation Hub, and it's clear that innovation, technology, digitization are going to be at the core of this operation. So Gregory, I want to pose this question to you. How crucial do you believe that innovation and digitization is going to be for the Innovation Hub to execute on its goals, and how do you factor in that regard?
Look, I think it's really essential. And if you think about all the major changes that have happened in the world, I'm 52. And when I started university, I had a typewriter actually. And I got a computer halfway through my degree. And then my grades just went through the roof. because all of a sudden I could edit and improve the quality of my work rather than just writing it out by hand and thinking it could be better, but I don't want to have to rewrite all of that. So innovation is like just so important for improving. And then when I had my computer, I would never have imagined that we would be doing this. The internet didn't exist when I was at university. I feel like I'm talking like an old man, but that's how fast things move. And so technology and innovation has so much potential to make the world a better place. Whether it's dealing with plastic pollution, climate change, poverty reduction, so many areas, technology and innovation are essential. And I think there's really two things that this discussion is showing are important to encourage innovation. And the first is targets. And actually Berenice just said, that she has a target at Bamboo Bikes for I think you said 90%, so having a target, whether you're a company or a government, having targets to aim for, and particularly targets that you could call stretch targets to create that incentive, and then putting the policies in place to achieve and drive those targets. That's number one. And then I think number two is the role of non-government organisations and and the role of seed funding. So like something small that the Australian High Commission and Australia's taxpayers have invested here in Ghana is actually a small seed that is going to grow into something much bigger. And I'm learning about that today. And, I considered and approved the funding for this project with Environment 360, but it really excites me to hear about how something small is building the momentum for something much bigger. So I think seed funding, and particularly working at grassroots levels, and here, for example, you've got the Australian government working with a Ghanaian environment NGO that's working with the private sector, Ghanaian private sector. So what a great combination together.
Gregory, thank you so much for that. So we all know, I'm sure many of us know, that Ghana does have some sustainable development goals, which are also of importance to Environment 360. And especially now that we're talking about circular economy, Cordy, I'd be interested to know, how does this innovation hub feed into not only the national, but global sustainable agenda?
So I think that, when you look at the national agenda, it's very easy to look when you look at the system that government of Ghana has set up through its Plastic Action Partnership. They're looking at things that provide incentive for informal waste collectors. They're looking at how to formalize this particular sector, and they're looking at how to ensure that plastic and other waste that's collected is actually going back into local designs. When you look at the global level, I think that this project addresses almost all of the SDGs. It addresses innovation, it addresses responsible consumption, life above and below the water, gender equality, no poverty, sustainable cities and communities. The list really goes on and on. And I think that this is the great thing, is that when you talk about circularity, is that it really does achieve the goal of having an equal society, of creating or lessening the economic gap, of ensuring people are healthy and have access to a livable wage and respectable income, as well as reducing the amount of waste that we're sending into landfills and sending off this deadly methane gas. So when you look at the global perspective, I think this Circular Innovation Hub is actually going to be a plus for Ghana. I'm sure one thing you'll probably ask is that if you'll notice, it's actually situated in Dodowa and not in the center of Accra. And we purposefully took the Innovation Hub outside of the center of Accra, because we know that in order for innovation to happen, you need to be in a peaceful, tranquil place. Sometimes the distractions of the city can actually take away from that development, from that ingenuity. Even when I look at some of the sustainable alternative solutions for packaging that have come up, a lot of them are from the northern regions, they're from the eastern regions. And it goes to show that there is some value in being able to be in a tranquil spot with mango trees and plenty of shade that really allows people to think, to create, and expand. I'm sure this was one of the main reasons Aseshi as well, when it first started, put its university in the mountains. There's something about when you leave your standard environment that it inspires you and really reminds you that there's more to life than the day-to-day hustle that you're going into. And we definitely want to give our women waste pickers the opportunity to experience that, to dream uninhibited. And we want to be able to give our future eco entrepreneurs that same opportunity.
So, Cordy, I totally agree. I was just wondering, bearing in mind that, you will be in a tranquil setting away from, I guess, the major cities, in terms of operations, what barriers could that present, especially considering the fact that technology and digitization is going to be a backbone of this innovation hub? How easy will it be to still execute without being in what would be considered a more technologically advanced area of the country, I guess?
Yeah, so I think that that's a really good question. I think that challenges present itself in recycling regardless. I think one of the things that we're actually focused in on is Environment 360 already does have collection hubs for the women within the city. So of course we will have to transport some of their plastic a little bit further than if we were in the city. I'm sure also some people may say, hey, drive to Dodowa. I don't really know about going all the way out there. But I think that when something presents value, when something is unique, people are willing to take the drive. One of the things about the Circular Innovation Hub is that when you come to visit the campus, you'll notice that we actually built the campus on the premise of sustainability. So we actually use containers to turn into buildings. Of course, we have a biodigester toilet. We're actually harvesting rainwater so that it can have water there on the campus. So when we actually built this particular facility, it really is a completely circular facility. And we know that this is something very unique in Ghana. And because of that, we're hoping that people are going to think that it's worth the drive. And most importantly, we're hoping that with partners like Ghana Bamboo Bikes, that people feel like, let's see what's going on out there. And when we start producing quality products, hopefully that'll just be another niche for us. But we really are committed to facing those challenges. Another thing is that we will also be working with the city of Dodowa to actually increase their plastic collection as well in the area. When you look at the number of projects in Accra, there's so many. Accra is not lacking people collecting in plastic. However, we need to realize that plastic is a national issue, and Accra is not the only place suffering from an overrun of plastic. The Western region is, the Eastern region is, our out suburbs, Kaswa, McCarthy Hills, Dodowa, Samanya, all of these places are also suffering. And I think that we need to keep that in mind when we think about innovation and circularity, which is why these machines are great, because they can be deployed in any part of the country. They can run with or without electricity. So, I mean, when you look at all of the benefits of this potential machinery, hopefully we'll actually have them deployed in at least all 10 regions within the next 10 years.
That is fantastic. I really do look forward to that. So, Cordy, like you said, plastic is a nationwide issue, but not just plastic. We know that we have an issue with, secondhand clothing, cardboard, and I'm sure that Environment 360 have plans to incorporate these into the circular economy as well. But I'd be interested to hear from Gregory on this, especially considering your background and Australia's current developments within the circular economy. What support does the Australian High Commission actually give to support the growth of the circular economy here in Ghana from now and moving forwards? What is essentially the plan?
So look, first of all, we're providing the practical support through our aid program to fund this initiative with Environment 360, which again, I really like because it's so practical and we're working with real women who I know and have had over here for a cup of tea, and who I've been out walking with to collect and weigh the rubbish that they collect. So that's the first thing. The second thing we do is we have a policy conversation. So we've got our own experience, including our own mistakes, like where we implemented a really good waste management system to collect and sort the waste, but we didn't really get organised to create the circular economy, and we got into the habit of exporting waste mostly to China and Malaysia, which then increased their standards, and then all of a sudden we needed to deal with it. But luckily our government and our Prime Minister under his leadership and the state and territory governments all came together and saw this problem as an opportunity. So I think the second thing we can really do is share Australia's story, share the mistakes we've made, and share the policy frameworks that we've put in place to incentivise and make plastic pollution an opportunity. At a practical level, at the High Commission, we separate and recycle all of our waste. We have a compost heap, we have chickens, and actually our chicken coop was made by Macintosh Africa, and it's made out of reused repurposed kufor gallons that the chickens climb into to lay their eggs. And we have, for example, a wall garden made out of the kufor gallons as well. So we try to find ways to show our own personal responsibility and organisational responsibility. And then I think the last point that I think the role that we have as a High Commission, but indeed everyone has a role, is to get the message out there about plastic pollution. And actually recently I was up in the north and I saw a lot of plastic pollution there too. And I saw goats and chickens eating grass and food around all of this plastic pollution and the plastic in the fields. And I remember I was explaining to someone, plastic is made from the same chemicals as diesel and petroleum. So if we allow plastic to stay in the environment, it doesn't biodegrade like banana skins or like wrapping leaves. It actually breaks down into tiny particles called microplastics that get into the food chain through the animals and the vegetables and the fish that we eat and get into our bodies. And if we allow plastic to stay in the environment, particularly with the food we're eating, it's sort of like sprinkling diesel on the food before we eat it. And so explaining that to people and getting the message out that plastic, because we wrap things in plastic, it might seem like it's a harmless product. It's visually ugly, but it doesn't matter being in the environment, because for the short term, it's healthy to wrap food in plastic. And plastic is a really useful product. Everybody, including me, who's having their vaccines for COVID, we get it with a plastic syringe. So plastic can save lives, but we need to stop it degrading in the environment because it's poisoning our food supplies and ultimately poisoning us as humans. So I think we all have a responsibility to get the message out. And that's one of the reasons why I'm really pleased today to be having this conversation, because if somebody else tells a story, plastic pollution in the environment and getting into our food is like sprinkling diesel on your food, then that's a good thing, because that will incentivize more people to take their own responsibility and dispose of waste responsibly.
Okay, Gregory, thank you. So thank you for that, actually, because I never thought of it like that. It's like sprinkling diesel on your food. It's an image that stays in your head. So I am coming back to you, Cordy. So we all know that Rome was not built in a day, and likewise, everything that the Innovation Hub is trying to achieve will not just be done overnight. There will be a need for partners. There will be a need for collaboration. So in your opinion, I want to understand, what are some of the barriers that you think could impede successful relationships with other parties? And how have you already started bridging those gaps?
Yeah, so I think that whenever there's something new, there's going to be that sit and watch. I think Environment 360, what we actually try to do is identify the early adapters. And the early adapters, I think, are going to be the most critical. So we're not really focusing a lot of time on trying to convince people on partnering with the Innovation Hub. As mentioned beforehand, we want people that hear this idea and say, you know what? I think I want to be a part of this. I think that we can support in some way. And I think that that's really going to be the key kicker for us. We also realize that there are going to be a lot of people that have questions about quality and standards and how are you going to process the plastic. And what we plan on doing is really making it a very transparent process. So you'll find that once we actually open the facility, we'll be doing tours with individuals. We'll be opening up for school tours as well, so that people can really come in and become more comfortable with what we're actually doing at the Innovation Hub. Another thing we're going to do is we're partnering with universities. And we think that this is really crucial because we think that if you are looking at really having a true circular innovation hub that addresses all types of waste, it's going to be important to have that academic touch as well. So we are partnering with universities both here locally in Ghana and abroad that can essentially bring in knowledge and technology and other insights into what we're doing and best practices as well, so that we do we're actually able to continue on the path that we've started. And I think the last thing that we're really conscious of is really documenting the process of how we work with partners. What are best practices? How do things work best? Do partners pay an upfront fee? Do partners not pay a fee until the prototype is done? What happens if a partner sponsors so many entrepreneurs? What's their benefit for that? So I think that we're also really documenting the processes and how we want to work with partners. Environment 360 has had a lot of experience. We've had some great successes with partners, and we've had some great failures with partners. And I think through all of this, one of the things that Environment 360 has learned is we really want to work with people we enjoy. And I think that this is one of the most critical things when you're creating something new, when you're creating something that no one has ever seen. And this is why I think it was so natural for Bernice and I to get together and be able to do this, is because we click. And for this project, we're really looking for partners that click. So we're not necessarily looking for companies to come in and dictate to us how we are doing things at the Innovation Hub. Once again, we're looking for partners that are open for a learning experience, that are open to saying, hey, we don't know everything and we're going to learn along the way. And we want to be very transparent about that. And we want to be very open about that. So if we don't feel as if your organization or your company aligns with where we want to go or our goals, we're going to definitely be very particular on this, because we definitely want to make sure, as the High Commissioner said, that it really grows into something. This is not something for Environment 360. This is something for the country. In order to do that, we need to protect this space and make sure that we invite the right people into that space.
Fantastic, Cordy. And I do wish you all the best. I just wanted to know if you could give us a little bit more information on your timelines. I know you have this great vision, but for example, where do you see the Innovation Hub in 12 months' time? Where do you see it in 2 years' time? When do you think you can start going into the schools, into the universities, opening it up for tours? What is the short-term kind of timeline in that regard?
Yeah, so we've actually already started with some of these things. So we actually are already speaking with a few schools in Germany and then the United States about different partnerships that we can actually have available. So the first step is actually machines come in mid-May. We'll do a launch end of May. Graduation ceremony will probably once again be end of June, early July, which will introduce the design prototypes for bamboo bikes. Then we'll sort of be monitoring and evaluating our first group of women to really see how they do with collection, what are the challenges, what's happening, monitoring what are the differences between those that want to move into owning machinery versus those that don't want to earn machinery. Year 2, we're looking more at scaling and getting these women into ownership and really teaching them the skills that they need to be able to run their own machines, and really focusing on increasing our number of partners. We'll expect in the first year, hopefully we'll have about 4 or 5 really good partners that we can be designing for simultaneously. So hopefully then by the end of year 2, we should have at least 3 products on the market. In year 3, we should definitely be able to move into full scale ownership. So all of the women are owning machines. They're servicing subcontracts from our partners. Hopefully then by year 4, we should be able to have enough momentum on ground where our European partner actually sets up local production here, which will really bring the cost down. And then the idea is to actually have these substations of the Circular Innovation Hub in different regions where people can pick up the same skills, machines can be made locally, and they have access to financing to purchase the machines once they've fully gone through the educational scheme.
Cody, thank you for that. So Bernice, don't worry, I haven't forgotten about you. We know that you're fully engaged. we know you're fully engaged with Environment 360 and the Circular Innovation Hub. So, sell it to us. Why do you think other companies should really seriously consider partnering with the Circular Innovation Hub to achieve their sustainability agendas?
First, I could say together we make a difference. Together we can make progress. And, big dreams comes with big challenges, but sometimes we all have to join the status quo to see how best we can gather the momentum with perseverance, with determination, we can make a difference. So we're all trying to see how best we can achieve the circular economy agenda, how we can all come together for environmental sustainability. So I hope that other companies, institutions, individuals, entrepreneurs fighting across the globe on climate change issues, environmental issues, should come together so that we can champion the cause.
Apologies, I was still muted. Thank you so much, Bernice. I don't know if Cordy or Gregory, if any of you want to add something on top of that. Why should companies engage with the Innovation Hub to achieve their sustainability goals?
Look, I would probably just say it's because we all have a role and all have a responsibility, but also it's an opportunity. It's a huge untapped market, just like touchscreen gadgets were an untouched market when I was at university, and no one imagined them, and we only had computers where you press buttons. We're on the edge of this revolution of the circular economy, so it's an opportunity, and the sooner you get on board, the better for your business, but also the better for the planet.
Fantastic. Cordy, any words?
I think that this is really just important for Ghana. I think that when we look at the amounts of plastic that we're actually importing, I think Comtrade said that we imported $499 million in plastic. We know that Ghana Plastic Action Partnership, as well as UNDP, has cited recycling rates as low as 2%. Which means that most of this plastic that we're importing is actually becoming waste. And I think that we all know it's not sustainable. I think when we go to our communities, when we go to the beaches, we know it's not sustainable. And I do think that companies have a larger role in really pushing these types of initiatives, particularly companies that are the creators of this waste. I think that there is a syndrome of saying we're already doing this, or throwing light on initiatives that have been very small. But I think if we're really honest with ourselves, most of the initiatives that we're focusing on are on the collection side. And though collection is great, it's definitely needed, as the High Commissioner pointed out, there is an issue with creating a collection system without having an end value chain. And I think that as we need to realize that, and we can't just focus on setting up collection points, doing community buybacks, doing beach cleanups. At some point, we have to look at redesign and we have to look at innovation. So I definitely want to put a call out to those companies, out to those small manufacturers, medium, and even large. If you know that you're using plastic in your value chain, that it's non-food grade, please reach out to us and let's see how we can work together to really reduce the amount of plastic that we find in our environment.
Okay, great. So we are now going to open it up to questions from our contributors, our viewers, but I do have a question here that was submitted. So I'll just read it and open it up to yourself, Bernice or Gregory. So it does say, I'm just going to read it word for word. I have followed Environment 360 for a while, and I must say you are doing an amazing job. Certainly, monetary gains from plastic recycling is a great motivation for the promotion of pro-environmental behavior. But aside from economic empowerment, does Environment 360 have some social intervention designs in terms of education to encourage PEB among Ghanaians in general? So, Cordy, I think that's for you.
Yeah, so thanks for that question. Environment 360 actually started off in the educational sphere. One of the things, I was just having this conversation early, Environment 360 has a thriving school program. It's grown over the years. One of the things we realized probably in about 2018 or 2019 is that we couldn't financially sustain it. And this is because it was mainly run by volunteers. And it was really easy to pay volunteers for activities when there was 20 schools. But when you have 70 schools, it really becomes a financial burden to the organization. What we also realized is that schools that basically did best on recycling programs had a very active teacher. So we actually were able to participate. We got some funds from the Waste Recovery Innovation Challenge from UNDP, and we're piloting the Green Schools Academy now, which is a teacher training program that empowers them to bring education into the classroom. We typically focus on basic and junior high schools. I know that there are programs out there for university students, but our philosophy is really catching students young. We do some awareness activities occasionally, but our main focus, once again, is catching the students while they're young, and our focus with women waste pickers and really trying to move them up the value chain and learn lessons and best practices for what works well in the recycling industry in Ghana and what doesn't work well.
Fantastic. So if any of our listeners would like to ask questions, please do feel free. Okay, so I actually do have a question. I know that this innovation hub is located in Dodowa, but are there any plans, down the line to have innovation hubs in all regions of the country, potentially specializing or focusing in different areas, in different sectors? Are there any plans like that?
Yes, ideally we will have annexes in different places. Once again, with technology, we really envision that the hubs will have access to sort of webcam and other things where we can have our teachers, product developers, and other individuals sort of teach on ground. Ideally, because it's a circular innovation hub, we want to focus on all types of waste. Yes, we're focusing on hard plastic, mainly the lid of the PET, but the vision is that we're doing everything: organic, textile, solar, you name it. We want to be able to find a way to promote people to do it. How we envision the innovation hub working is really more so working to find partners that have an idea or want to try something within their vision chain, and then matching them with the eco entrepreneurs and innovators that are able to fulfill that need. So we don't want to restrict people and say, because you live in the north, you can only focus in on water sachet, or because you come from Agba Bloshi, you can only do e-waste. We want people to be able to create freely and do what they want to. But ideally, yes, we would have many hubs throughout the country that make it very accessible and where people can learn from our educators and teachers.
Okay, thank you so much. So back to our participants. If there are any questions, guys, just please turn, I think I have a message. Please turn your microphone on. So I do have a question, another one here. It says, aside from moving waste pickers up the waste management ladder, are there going to be avenues of employment for graduates at home, for example?
Absolutely. This first class, we're working with women waste pickers, but the idea is for this to be an educational hub for anyone. Granted, those people that maybe want to attend the Innovation Hub and take advantage of some of our lectures and faculty members and understanding of product development might have a small tuition to help the center stay sustainable, but it absolutely is open to everyone. And once again, the more innovations we have, the stronger the value chain. Because as we've identified, we know that not all 10 women that we are working with will want to be machine owners. We might have 40% that say, hey, you know what? I just want to stay collecting. And then the other 60% move into being small scale recyclers. So we recognize that not everybody is going to want to be a small scale recycler. And I think that we'll find this in communities as we scale the idea as well, which is the beauty of it, is that once you start scaling and having these machines in different parts of the country, it creates that job opportunity. It creates a movement around these machines. So will everybody own a machine? No. Will it help strengthen the value chain for those people that are collecting? Absolutely. So I think that we need to look at it like that, but it will be available for training for university students, for people that have technical education, and people that maybe don't want to do traditional education, but have interest in learning about the small scale recycling business. So we definitely plan on being open to anyone that considers themselves an innovator.
Okay, fantastic. So I think the men are feeling a little left out. One of our questions is, there is a great focus on women. So what will be the role of men, or what is the role of men in recycling waste? Or are there any opportunities, whether with Environment 360, bamboo bikes, however you see all of the plans coming forward? Where's the role for men, basically?
I think men traditionally dominate.
Yeah. Actually, if I could just come in, I think the fact that most of the waste collectors are women is indicative of gender inequality. So, we want men to participate, but actually the reason that this activity is predominantly a women's activity is because of gender discrimination and the lack of empowerment of women. And so it's low paid, hard work. And one of the great things about this project is it's empowering those women to earn more money and then hence support their families and their children. So yeah, men need to get involved, but also the reason that not many men are involved in waste picking is because men generally are more empowered and are choosing to do other things where they can earn more money and have more power. So this project will help those women become more empowered.
Yeah, I think High Commissioner Andrews hit it right on the head. I think when you look at waste picking, there are a few things we need to realize. Community waste pickers are 90% women. They also have a tendency not to move up the value chain. Men, on the other hand, when you see them picking, they typically have very organized businesses. A lot of them have access to technology, they have access to transportation, and most of these women are sometimes feeding into them. So I think that there are disparities when you look at a community waste picker versus a large aggregator. And this really is to empower these women and to give them the confidence and let them know that they can run a recycling machine. They can create a small business. They don't have to just collect if they don't want to collect. They can do something, and we really want to empower them. We recognize innovators come in both genders, and we would never exclude males, but we do also want to make sure that women have that same opportunity. As a woman-led organization in waste, women are less than 2% globally in waste management. And I see this and I feel this every time I go to meetings and there's one or two women there. So I do feel that there's great underrepresentation of us in the waste field, particularly because women and children mainly deal with the waste as well in homes, research has shown. So I think that we do need to give women an opportunity to step forward to really impact their communities and really pass that down to their children and to their children's children, and really change the lives and the trajectory of their future generations.
Excellent. So I have a question here for you, Bernice. So somebody wants to know that, they're in a community with a lot of bamboo. So they want to know, are there any plans to move your innovations to other regions or produce in other regions aside from just Kumasi, so other districts which also have bamboo?
Yes, totally. We have a lot of plans of, trying to see how best we broaden our scope to other regions. Basically, the vision for bamboo bicycle or even the bamboo industry is very big. So because even though we have abundant bamboo in Ghana, we've even started cultivating our own bamboo to feed the industry and also broaden our product lines. So we're looking at other product lines we want to set up on different regions or different communities. So if you have abundant bamboo within your communities, kindly get in touch. Probably might not be at this time, but in our medium long-term plan, we have a plan of setting up such similar companies. We've come out with other prototype like litter picker, what they use to pick trash from the environment, which is something we're going to we'll be discussing with Environment 360 in the near future. So if you have such opportunity of having abundant bamboo within your locality or your community, it's a good deal. Kindly get in touch with us, and then we see how we can take it out from.
Thank you. So yes, get in touch. Okay, so we do have a question, and it's quite an interesting one. It says, I know that some Chinese companies are collecting sachet rubbers, but recycling them again into black bags for grocery shopping. So is there any way Environment 360 can help or lead the community to recycle products that would not come back as waste into the environment? I know you're already doing this with the plastic, but I guess I actually want to rephrase this question slightly. Is there any way to actually recycle more products to keep more business within Ghanaian communities?
So I think that this is the sole purpose of the Circular Innovation Hub. So once again, we are starting with hard plastic, the lids from the PET bottles, but hopefully we should be able to find solutions for other types of plastic as well. And that's why I said we're open to all innovators and we're open to all partners that are willing to embark upon how do we do that together. It's not an easy process, so it's probably something on the medium and long term, but we definitely think that it is feasible. And I think really the way that we have to think about it is that we know that all of the products that are plastic will probably at some point in time end up as a resource. But the thing is, how can we keep harnessing that resource time and time again so we maximize the life of it before it ends up being non-usable? And I think the issue now with using the water sachet for the black plastic bag is that it's one-time use. This black plastic bag can't be recycled again. And I think that this is the real menace. But I even want to take it one step further. How about we just look at alternative packaging? How about we come up with people or we find innovators that say, hey, you know what? I've got this great innovation. How about we use this instead of using water sachet for water? How about we, use this alternative or reusable packaging for our food and other things versus the black rubber bag? So I think that as much as we focus in on collection and how people are recycling, the Innovation Hub, the Circular Innovation Hub, also really wants to focus in on design and how can we create products that are suitable for the local market that can be used time and time again.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. So we don't have any, well, do we have any more questions from participants if you'd like to speak directly? Okay, so if there are no more questions, I'd like to hear from all our speakers today, just a nice sign-off message, essentially concluding what we've been speaking about today. So Gregory, if you'd be so kind, please could you start for us?
Thank you. Look, so I would just finish off by saying that Australia is really supportive of Ghana's efforts to get plastic pollution under control, because plastic pollution is a global problem. And it really requires everybody to be part of the solution. And at an individual level, we should all remember the 5 R's: refuse, reduce, recycle, repurpose, and refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, repurpose, and reutilize. So they're all things that we can do with plastics at a local and individual level.
Okay. And Bernice?
I think the little I would want to add is I would encourage all of us, or people at the platform, people around in Ghana or around the globe, to see how best with our daily intake or our daily use of materials, we should consider how we go into more environmentally friendly products, or how we can also use our own small way to address those challenges, to see how best. So I really love the idea that we are collaborating with Environmental 360. I will encourage a lot of entrepreneurs to also do similar in the near future, to see how best we can address all these challenges. Thank you.
Fantastic. And finally, Cordy.
So I actually just want to just give a really warm thank you as my last words. I think that you can have a dream, you can have a vision, but you really need the right people to support and buy in to that vision. So first and foremost, I have to thank the Australian High Commission, their direct aid program, which has provided 90% of the capital for this project. Without their commitment to really reducing plastic litter in Ghana, we wouldn't be here having this conversation today. So I really have to thank High Commissioner Andrews for your support, for your belief. Thank you so much for taking the time to visit our women waste pickers and continue to be part of their story and believe in what they can achieve. I also really want to thank 3M, which gave us the initial seed money to clear the land and put the bamboo fencing around the land. We're really grateful as well. We were actually part of a leadership program that they did to strengthen our business. And they randomly called one day and said, hey, we're going to give you guys a grant. And that sort of initiated it all. So thank you, 3M. For also making this possible. And lastly, thanks to Bernice at Bamboo Bikes. I think when we started this project, one of our greatest challenges was how are we going to create a product and feed it into the market. And we know that we didn't have a large budget for market research and creating a project or products and them not going well. So when we had this idea to partner with other local companies, Bernice was one of the first people that we thought of. And I thank her for believing in this project and for coming on as our first partner and to being committed to the process. And I'm really looking forward to working with you and your team at Bamboo Bikes to see what we can pull together. So I just really want to give a heartfelt thank you to everyone that has made this possible, to everyone that will be impacting these women. And thanks for everyone for tuning in today to learn more about what we're doing.
Yes, before we do go, some people would like to know, how can they volunteer or intern with Environment 360? But I'm actually going to open that up a little bit more to interning with Environment 360, Ghana Bamboo Bikes, and maybe even the Australian High Commission. So let us know, how can we get in there?
So for Environment 360, you can just send your CV to info@environment360gh.org, and let us know your areas of interest, and then we'll get back with you.
Cordy, can you say that email address again? I want to type it into the chat box for them.
Yes, it's info, I-N-F-O, at environment360gh.org.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, good. Fantastic. Okay. And so Bamboo Bikes, how can we intern with yourselves?
Yeah. Please, if anybody wants to get in touch with us, kindly get in touch with us through info@ghanabamboobikes.org.
Okay.
info@ghanabamboobikes.org.
Fantastic. Gregory, are there any openings or?
So you can get in contact with us through our Facebook page. We do have a lot of requests or proposals for internships, but just because of COVID at the moment, it's a little bit difficult because we have to reduce our numbers. But often what I do is I encourage people to volunteer or work as an intern at some of the organisations, some of the fantastic organisations that we fund. So if anybody contacts me with an idea, if we can't offer you an opportunity here, we can definitely steer you in the right direction of organisations like Environment 360 and other organisations that are doing great work in a whole range of spaces: gender equality, plastic pollution reduction, destigmatising menstruation, a whole range of really important issues for Ghana and for the world.
Okay, thank you. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Bernice, Cordy, Gregory, thank you for your time today. Participants, I hope you definitely got something from it. I did. And yes, that brings today's webinar to a close. Round of applause, everybody. Thank you too.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye.